After a 3-week break, Game Week 32 is finally here, and ahead of some double and blank Game Week announcements, it's time to get back on the transfer hype. Thankfully, we've got you covered with all of the data and transfer tips in this week's Buy, Sell, Keep, Avoid. This video is split into two parts, the first of which we'll be having a look at those players you may already have in your team and which ones you should keep and which ones you should sell. After that, we'll be looking at the players that you don't have and which players you should buy and which players you should avoid. Players will be tier listed with the best players at the top and the worst ones at the bottom. Welcome to FPL Mate, my name is Dan. We are back after a long time since we did the last Buy, Sell, Keep, Avoid episode. And first of all, guys, I do want to just apologise if it seems like I've been crying or it looks or sounds like I've been crying. It is unfortunately hay fever season back in the UK. It is what it is. Need to get back on the hay fever antihistamines, I think. But regardless, guys, we're checking out the Buy, Sell, Keep, Avoid picks for this week. And certainly what we do need to say before we even start this video is that different people are going to be on different strategies. Now, hopefully a lot of you guys have seen my chip strategy video from yesterday, which I think will help clear up a lot of your chip strategy related questions. We covered a lot of different strategies, a lot of different scenarios, so everyone is kind of helped out in that video. But as such, some of you guys will be looking to free hit in Game Week 33, and therefore you won't really be looking to buy double Game Week 33 players as part of your permanent team. Others of you will be on a wild card right now. Others of you will not be on a wild card right now, but you will be looking to free hit in Game Week 34. So you'll be looking to buy players who double in 33, but you won't be worried about players who blank in Game Week 34. So with a lot of these suggestions, a lot of the players we're going to be talking about today, not every player in Keep, for example, we're in Keep right now for forwards, not all of these keeps are going to work for you. So, for example, we've got Haaland first of all, and I think most people will be looking to keep Haaland. A hat-trick against Liverpool in the FA Cup suggests that maybe he's back in form. Of course, Man City only in the FA Cup and the Premier League now, no Champions League football to contend with, which you would imagine Haaland is going to play every game as Man City look to win the Premier League. Can they catch up with Arsenal? I mean, I hope not, but maybe. And with that said, Haaland probably going to be fine against Chelsea, who still have some vulnerabilities. And for the double game week, great if you are not free hitting in Game Week 34. But even if you are not free hitting in Game Week 34, and you kind of are looking for players who play in Game Week 34, Haaland is probably one of those players who you will maybe keep on your bench, maybe just keep for to hold some team value in him potentially there as well. He's not necessarily a player you're going to sell in any kind of instance. Calvert-Lewin is maybe a little bit different. Now, if you are looking for players who have that double game week in 33, he's brilliant. Really nice double game week for Calvert-Lewin. Wolves at home, Bournemouth away. Bournemouth, despite keeping some clean sheet recently, they still have been putting up some fairly weak defensive numbers. Wolves at home is obviously a good fixture, and in game week 35, Burnley at home is a great fixture. So if you need players who double in 33, you're going to free hit in Game Week 34, and you're going to need this player again in Game Week 35. Calvert-Lewin is brilliant. Decent XG numbers despite a lack of goals. He's on penalties as well, which is really, really useful. And even though Manchester United away is not the best of fixtures this week, you know, there's definitely still some appeal. He's definitely playable in Game Week 32, even if he's maybe not the perfect pick for this week. And then we have someone like Bowen. Now, if you are maybe free hitting in Game Week 33 instead of Game Week 34, then actually Bowen is a player who you're going to really want to have kept into your team. You're going to want him for this Wolves fixture. You're going to want him for blank game week 34 where he plays Everton at home, which is not such a bad fixture for that blank game week. And away against Crystal Palace in 33, if you're free hitting in 33, you could just free hit him out again in that game week regardless. So hopefully, guys, you can. I don't want to kind of go through this with every single player because this video would just take way too long, but hopefully you can see that, you know, you're not just looking at the players in the keep category, you also have to factor in your chip strategy. So Bowen, if you are kind of going for a game week 33 free hit, is a player to keep. Maybe if you're not, then, you know, you probably don't sell him this week, don't get me wrong. But if you're on a wild card, you're probably not picking Bowen. Calvert-Lewin, if you are free hitting in game week 34, he is going to be a perfect keep for you. But if you are actually going to free hit in game week 33, you actually might be thinking, maybe I'll sell Calvert-Lewin then I can get a good player for Game Week 32, a good player for 34, and I'll think about Calvert-Lewin again in Game Week 35, maybe bring him back in, maybe wildcard in 35 and bring him in that way. So you're going to have little options down the line. So please bear that in mind as we go through these plays. But yeah, quickly on Bowen, just before we move on, really good XA numbers, penalty taker, nailed for minutes. If you are free hitting in Game Week 33, he does look like a really good pick. And if you already have him, fantastic news, basically. Let's move on to the monitor section. And certainly, again, if you are a Game Week 33 free hitter, I think Thiago is going to be certainly a keep with Everton at home. I don't think the Brentford fixtures are perfect, but they're certainly good enough to keep you going. And yes, Thiago has been disappointing at times this season, but really out of the forward options we have, having a penalty taker that doesn't blow the bank away and the fixtures aren't bad, not such a bad pick, really. Joao Pedro, really interesting. If you are going to free hit in Game Week 34, you're definitely going to keep him. If you are not free hitting in Game Week 34, you're probably going to sell him. So one of those strange players that can go definitely either way, depending on your strategy, which is why I've put him kind of in the middle here, because depending on your strategy, you're going to have a very different opinion on Joao Pedro. But what has to be said when we're looking here is his numbers are truly phenomenal when it comes to these forwards that we're looking at. No one is coming close to him in terms of those underlying numbers. 25 shots taken, 22 in the box, 11 big chances, 5.86 XG. That's as a non-penalty taker as well, guys. So really, really impressive stuff there. So Man City at home. Is this going to be actually not so bad for him? You know, sometimes, picking a player who is in form is more important than picking a player who has a good fixture, particularly when we're looking at forwards. And if you do think Man City will concede to Chelsea, you'd have to probably put your money on Joao Pedro being the guy to score the goal. So I don't actually think Joao Pedro is that bad, even for Game Week 32, because of that incredible underlying number data that we're kind of looking at right now. But if you're going to kind of maybe free hit him in 33 anyway, then Man City at home, blank game week in 34, maybe not super appealing. And for Chelsea in particular, 35, game week 35, not such a bad fixture against Forest at home. But really outside of game week 35 and 33, the fixtures aren't great for Chelsea. I have to be totally honest with you guys. Ekitike is going to drop slightly lower down the list. Now, he should be fine for this game week for a lot of people. However, we are expecting Alexander Isak to make his return to the Liverpool squad in the very near future. So in the very near future, we can expect Ekitike to start becoming a bit of a rotation risk player. So just be aware of that if you do have Ekitike in your squad right now. Dropping further down the list, Ollie Watkins. Yes, he finally scored a goal in game week 31. But is his form good enough that we fully trust him? Now, that is something I'm not so sure about. That's the kind of strange thing about Watkins. And given that he is so expensive, even though he did score, even though, possible penalty taker in certain scenarios, maybe, it's just a lot of money. The fixtures are they're decent. Like sometimes, Sunderland at home is in the double game week, so you're probably not going to want him against Sunderland at home anyway. Forest is away, Fulham is away, and Spurs at home is all the way in game week 35. So I think there's definitely more motivation to sell Watkins than to keep him. But again, it's going to be very much team dependent. In the sell category, I think Krupi Jr. is going to be a potential sell. And I think if you are wild carding this week, you're probably not going to have Krupi Jr. in your team. If you are planning on free hitting in game week 33, well, you're not going to want to have Krupi Jr. away against Arsenal and then no fixture in game week 34. You're just not going to want to have that in your team. The only exception is if you've already wildcarded and you are planning on maybe bench boosting in game week 33 and then free hitting in game week 34, so no wildcard, then maybe you could keep Krupi Jr. But honestly, I think the rotation risk he has, the fact that he's kind of had to withdraw from the France team as well, is the under 21s team, had to kind of withdraw from that with a minor injury, and he has since confirmed that he does have a small injury as well there. There's definitely got to be some concern around Krupi Jr. right now. Raul Jimenez with some rotation risk, pretty poor fixtures. Even though he does play in game week 34, there's poor fixtures kind of around that. Even his game week 34 fixture at home against Aston Villa, not exactly the perfect fixture. You add rotation risk into that. You look at his game week 32 away fixture against Liverpool, then he's not so appealing. I definitely think I would look at selling him. And Šeško, rotation risk player, no double game weeks here. Leeds at home isn't so bad if he plays, but we can't even guarantee see that. No double in 33. There's just not a huge amount I like about Šeško as an FPL pick right now. Moving on into midfield, we've got Semenyo at the top of this list as a keep. If you do have him in your team, I think the form has been there. It did seem to drop off a little bit before the international break, but golden assist against Liverpool in the FA Cup, which is pretty nice for him. And we know he doesn't need to be playing well to get FPL points, and I think that's what's been the beauty of Semenyo throughout large parts of the season. Even when he hasn't been playing well, he's still been picking up points, and that's kind of what we want. Now, Chelsea is not that bad of a fixture right now. We've got a nice double game week in game week 33 as well. And I think Semenyo, he might actually be one of those, unless you're planning on a wild card in game week 35, Semenyo may well be a player at this point that actually you want to hold on through the rest of the season and just keep him despite the blank in game week 34. And that is if you're free hitting in 33. If you're free hitting in 34, well, I mean, Semenyo is going to be one of the very best picks you can have in game week 33 if you're not free hitting on that week anyway. So yeah, whether you're free hitting or not, I think most people will probably have Antoine Semenyo in their game week 33 team. So I see very little reason to sell him for the majority of FPL managers. Palmer is an interesting one. I think if you have him and you're looking to free hit in 34, he is going to be a definite keep. Again, one of the top picks really for game week 33. Man City, it's a home fixture against his old club. What will he do in that fixture? I don't know. Man City, definitely a team that can concede goals, and with a penalty taker, you never know what's going to happen. So Palmer, I think he's okay for this game week as well. Not that bad. And Anderson, really for anyone, could be a keep, really. Unless you're on a wild card right now, I don't really think I would sell Anderson necessarily. Like, even if you want to play him in game week 33 on a single game week, I mean, it's Burnley at home, set piece taker. He takes plenty of shots. He gets defensive contributions. It's not so bad. It's not so bad, really. I mean, 16 shots, that's the same amount as Cole Palmer. And granted, they're from weaker positions, hence his lower XG numbers, when Palmer has actually much higher XG and XA numbers than, even Semenyo, really. Anderson's still decent enough numbers for a player who gets regular defensive contributions. I mean, 85 in the past 6 game weeks is serious numbers. He's kind of fixture proof because of those defensive contribution numbers, and there is some attacking threat there as well, some set pieces, which is always a little bit helpful to get those extra points. Declan Rice, one to monitor, and that's largely going to be down to his injury status at time of recording, which is actually Tuesday morning. I don't know exactly whether Rice is going to be available. Maybe we'll get some more clues after the Champions League game for Arsenal on Tuesday evening. Maybe we'll get some clues at the press conferences later in the week, if not. But yeah, we're going to have to wait and see on this one, I'm afraid, and therefore, by definition, Rice has to be a monitor. Although, even if he is available, definitely don't think he's going to be like a must-keep player necessarily. But if you are looking for coverage in game week 32 and 34, knowing you're free hitting in game week 33, but actually, if Rice is available, he's not such a bad player to keep. He's certainly not going to be a priority transfer out. Szoboszlai, similar situation in terms of really nice coverage for 32 and 34, but outside of that, Liverpool assets not looking too hot right now. Everton away in 33 in a double game week. You're not going to want him for that. And game week 35 away against Manchester United. I think Liverpool's final few games of the season, not super favourable fixtures there. But Szoboszlai, fairly reliable player, getting defensive contributions, more so if he's playing deeper as well. Set piece taker, this is useful stuff. We've got a few set piece takers in a row here, guys. Anderson, Rice and Szoboszlai, who is of course the set piece extraordinaire. Brian Mbeumo's an interesting one. Obviously really poor form recently, but the Leeds at home fixture is really not so bad. Don't get me wrong, I don't think Leeds is an amazing fixture. I think Leeds have been kind of a middle-of-the-line Premier League defence this season. Certainly recently, they are kind of mid-table, just above mid-table in terms of those defensive numbers. So it's not like an absolute guaranteed points for Manchester United players. You'd more be looking at Bruno Fernandes. You maybe have some concern about Mbeumo being rotated or rested, particularly as his form hasn't been great. Could we actually see Šeško play up front and kind of maybe a mad play on the wing? So that is maybe a possibility, or some different wingers there, possibly. So definitely some small cause for concern. So therefore he is going to wander towards the sell category a little bit. But If you're just looking for coverage for 32 and 34, then I guess Mbeumo probably is going to provide that for you. So there are definitely some appealing things about him. Harry Wilson has been in really good form, but an away fixture against Liverpool, double game week 33, you're not going to want him. Game week 34, it's a home fixture against Aston Villa, which is okay, but nothing amazing. Game week 35, away against Arsenal. It's just unfortunate that Fulham, really for the remainder of the season, have really poor fixtures, actually, all the way until the end. So more kind of motivation to sell Wilson. If you do have Wilson in your team, maybe that's motivation. Or if you have like a lot of Fulham players in your team, maybe that is some motivation to wildcard right now. If you do have transfers available and you want to set up really nicely for game week 32 and 34, maybe Wilson could be a player who is potentially sacrificed there. And into the sell category, I mean, Rodgers is just too much of a troll right now. I think Aston Villa's fixtures are pretty average outside of game week 33, as we mentioned, which is a double game week, and we're probably not going to want Rodgers for that. And game week 35 at home against Spurs, which is, in a few games into the future. How long can you be patient with someone like Rodgers? Now, if you are just desperate to try and keep players who actually play in 32 and 34, then maybe Rodgers could do the job. Maybe he can fill that gap for you, but really, I think most people will be looking to sell Morgan Rodgers if they did have him in their team. Gordon is unfortunately going to be a sell, and a few people did buy him hoping that him, Newcastle and Arsenal would have that double game week in 33. But now instead, what we've got for Newcastle is actually a pretty mediocre fixture away against Crystal Palace, a game week 33 where you're not going to want to have Gordon because he doesn't double, followed by an away fixture against Arsenal in game week 34. Brighton as well in game week 35. Brighton, over the past 10 game weeks, have been the third best defence. So really, Gordon is not looking great at all right now. And indeed, a lot of the Newcastle players are suddenly out of nowhere. We didn't really expect this. They've suddenly become sells for a lot of people. If you're free hitting in game week 33, then that means you're going to have Gordon for 32 and 34. You're going to have Gordon for blank game week 34 away against Arsenal. Not great. And if you are wildcarding now, well, there's certainly no appeal in Gordon. So for a variety of strategies, Gordon is just not going to work anymore, really, unfortunately, even though his data is pretty good. Penalty taker. Newcastle do have some good fixtures later on in the season, but the way it's all fallen, just not looking good for Newcastle right now from an FPL perspective, I guess. And Enzo is going to be a sell as well due to internal conduct. He is going to be away from the team for a couple of games. So no Enzo, unfortunately. He is internally banned from Chelsea. Defenders next, and Gabriel, despite his yellow Dorito of death, has been confirmed back in training. And I imagine, I don't know this yet because I am recording this earlier on Tuesday, I imagine Gabriel is going to be part of the Champions League squad. Even if he's not, the fact that he's in training, I think, is a good enough sign to say that Gabriel is going to be a keep. I mean, come on, guys. No matter what the fixture is, he is one of the best defenders, probably the best defender in the game of FPL this season. And even though you might be looking at these fixtures and thinking pretty average, well, a lot of them are at home for a start, which is good. Home fixtures against Bournemouth, Newcastle and Fulham. And Arsenal, really, they're kind of defensively fixture-proof. We look through Arsenal's results this season, and really, Arsenal don't concede a particularly more amount of goals against weaker teams compared to stronger teams. They're just as capable of conceding against Wolves as they are against Manchester City, for example, which is handy because they play Man City against in game week 33. And what is interesting here is because of the importance of that fixture, what do you think Mikel Arteta is going to be planning for game week 33? What scoreline do you think he is going to be aiming for? It's 0-0. And what that's going to mean is that, well, hopefully Gabriel can get some clean sheet points in a 0-0 game in game week 33 in his toughest fixture. But also, if you're playing a defense first kind of game, you're naturally going to pick up a few defensive contributions. And I think there's a good chance Gabriel comes away with DEFCON in game week 33 and, fingers crossed, also comes away with a clean sheet. So even though game week 33 on paper looks like a rough fixture, when we kind of look at the tactical matchup a little bit more and we look at how the game may play out, actually, I kind of think game week 33 is just as good as, I don't know, game week 32, game week 34. Maybe game week 35 is a little stronger, but, I don't mind this fixture for Gabriel, actually. And even if you're on a wild card right now, I would seriously consider having Gabriel as part of your Game Week 33 maybe bench boost team. I think there's no problem with that whatsoever. I mean, Gabriel is in my current wildcard team where I'm planning a Game Week 33 bench boost. I've got no problem with having Gabriel. Plus, for the remainder of the season, really, from Game Week 35 onwards, he's pretty much a must-have player as Arsenal will look to see out the season with plenty of clean sheets in a defence first kind of strategy, I guess. Virgil is probably going to be a keep for you guys who are looking for coverage in 32 and 34. I think from a defensive point of view, Fulham at home and Crystal Palace at home, these are reasonably strong fixtures. And Virgil doing pretty well for defensive contributions here as well. Not quite Gabriel's 68 and 6, but 53 and 6, not too bad. Mukiele, we're expecting him to return to action in Game Week 32, which is going to be really, really nice to finally have him back. He's been a brilliant FPL asset whenever he's been fit this season. And actually, good fixtures, man. Good fixtures. Particularly if you are someone who is free hitting in Game Week 33. I think Mukiele is a really nice pick because there's certainly loads of playable games for your Sunderland defenders. So we'd also include, players like, I guess, Ballard, assuming he's available, Alderete. These guys are going to be really nice keeps for those people who are free hitting in Game Week 33. Monitor Gahey, and I do think from a defender's perspective, Chelsea away is a tough fixture. Chelsea really have been on par with the likes of Arsenal, Man City and Liverpool when it comes to scoring goals this season. And as such, if you're a defender in this fixture, you're probably not going to love it. But again, very strategy dependent what you're going to be doing with Mark Gahey. If you're on a wild card right now, maybe you pick him, maybe you don't. Certainly the blank in Game Week 34, if you're free hitting there, that's going to be fine. But if you're kind of maybe going for a free hit 33 strategy, Gahey is almost certainly going to be a sell from your FPL team right about now. Timber has to go in the monitor section again. We need a report on his fitness before we can make a decision on him. Again, maybe a slightly more of a chip strategy dependent kind of pick there. I'd be more keen to keep Gabriel than Timber, assuming both are fit. Senesi, a very chip strategy dependent kind of player, because if you're free hitting in 33, Arsenal away in 32 and a blank in 34, that is pretty useless really. But if you are on the other side and you're actually going to free hit in 34, then maybe you can bench Senesi for this week and hold him for that 33 double. Very nice indeed. Malik Chow, an interesting one. I think Game Week 32 is fine for him, but again, no double game week, away against Arsenal in 34, there has got to be some concern. And unless you find yourself with a squad structure where you can actually bench Chow in some of his difficult fixtures or unfavourable game weeks, then actually, maybe he is kind of wandering towards the sell category. But not such a bad player for defensive contributions here either. You can see 54, so just above Virgil, just below Senesi in that regard, but nowhere near Gabriel. Anderson probably wanders into the sell category because Fulham have just such poor fixtures for the remainder of the season. So no matter what strategy you're on, you're going to struggle to find game weeks where Anderson is useful. He has had some problems recently, I guess, not starting every game, and maybe the form has not always been 100% there for him, but I do still think he is probably first choice for Fulham for pretty much every game. I don't want to call him nailed, but like close enough, right? But it's just the fixtures that are the problem for him. Reece James, a small injury issue, and I just think the fact that you've got a weak fixture in 32, you've got a double game week where you probably expect Chelsea to concede in those games, and a blank game week in 34, you've got rotation risk. Chelsea are not the best defence in the Premier League either. You just add that all together and think, Reece James, is he worth the trouble? Probably not. Not even defensive contributions from this guy. 19 in 4 games that he's played in 6 game weeks. Just not good enough for me personally, at least. And Chalobah, he has got that longer term injury. He's going to be out for several more weeks. So probably going to be a player to absolutely just get rid of now and bring in those players who are, actually playing. And by the way, guys, if you do enjoy the FPL content on the channel, do make sure you drop a like. It really does help support the channel so much. Feel free to hype if you have any hype points left after yesterday's video, and do feel free to subscribe if you want to follow along with your FPL tips every single game week. Let's check out the forwards to buy, and yeah, we're in a similar scenario here with the forwards to keep, to be honest. Haaland is going to be a buy following his good form, particularly if you are looking for a strong team for game week 33. You're not on a free hit for game week 33, you'll be buying Bowen. On the opposite side of the coin, if you are actually free hitting in game week 33 and not free hitting in 34, so you need coverage for 32 and 34. Bowen is really perfect for that job. He is one of the best forwards when you're targeting 32 and 34 as 2 fixtures, so definitely worth having a look at. Not amazing shooting data, but on penalties and the key passes are kind of making up for that, and actually a forward who does get defensive contributions from time to time as well. Calvert-Lewin, another player like Haaland, if you are looking for a forward who is going to have that double game week in 33 with a plan to free hit in 34, Calvert-Lewin, really perfect for that job. Nice and cheap, good underlying data, penalty taker, all the things we like in FPL. In the monitor section, it's Joao Pedro. I don't think he is a must-have, even for those people who are looking to free hit in 34, just because the fixture right now is not great. Even if you're on a wild card, Joao Pedro, I still think is kind of in a way optional, despite his amazing data, which really truly is amazing. If you are a kind of a form over fixture manager, then Joao Pedro is a buy. But if you're not, maybe you look another way. Maybe you look at someone like Danny Welbeck, who is the next in the monitor section, who has a great fixture in game week 32 against Burnley and a double game week in 33, which has Spurs away and Chelsea at home. And you would think both of those fixtures, you could definitely get a goal even in the double game week fixtures. The problem is with Welbeck is the problem we've seen throughout the season. When there is a game of football, of Premier League football, played in the midweek, Danny Welbeck usually doesn't play. So you are dealing with a highly volatile rotation risk FPL asset. If you think it's worth taking the risk, if you're thinking, Welbeck and Brighton, they're not in any other competitions, full focus on the Premier League, full focus on some European places for Brighton, hopefully Welbeck's going to play all of the games, right? Don't think it's guaranteed, but if you are happy to take the risk on, you've got a penalty taker, occasional free kick taker, you've got a goal scorer who has been in good form recently, 4 goals in the past 6 game weeks, with a great fixture in game week 32 against Burnley, and indeed in game week 33, a double game week, which is very nice. So definitely one to consider for game week 34 free hitters. Thiago is here as an interesting one. I don't know if I would necessarily buy him at this point in kind of any scenario, but I guess if you are looking for a player for 32 and 34, maybe he could do the job, even though away against 34 is not ideal. I do have to say, by the way, guys, Manchester United away, don't think that's a great fixture right now. I think that's probably one of the worst fixtures that an attacker can play right now. So maybe some concern about that one. Gyökeres is an interesting one. Are you going to buy him this week? I mean, maybe his form has been improved, and if you're going to free hit in 33 anyway, maybe you're looking at Bournemouth at home, Newcastle at home, which on paper don't look like great fixtures, but actually these are 2 teams that don't put up the best of defensive numbers. Maybe Gyökeres is an interesting differential. Maybe. I'll leave that one with you guys. But Ekatike at this point, I think if you haven't already got him in your team, you're probably a little bit late here now that Isak is maybe going to come back into the squad at some point in the very near future. Krupa Jr. with his rotation risk, injury situation and rough fixture against Arsenal in 32 is just going to be a no-go if you don't already have him. And Beto, despite his heroics, Everton, their fixtures are just not good enough. Away against Brentford, home against Liverpool, away against West Ham, home against Man City after that. Like, where are the good fixtures? Where are the double game weeks? They're nowhere to be seen, and as such, not super keen on Everton picks generally, which is interesting because a few people are buying Everton players at the moment, and there's a couple more players worth talking about. In the midfield, if you don't have Bruno Fernandes, no matter what your chip strategy is, I think you're going to have Bruno in your team, to be honest. I think Game week 32 as a captain option is just too good. There's not really any other captains that I love the look of in game week 32. Bruno is just very safe for game week 32 captaincy. And then game week 33, you know, as a single game week bench boost player, stick him on your bench and bench boost him. Like, that's not the worst thing in the world to have a bench boost with Bruno Fernandes, even in a single game week, even in a game against Chelsea. Like, I don't know. Man United have been known to score against Chelsea. Let's just put that one out there, over the past 10 years. So, yeah, I think he's a really interesting pick for those of you who don't have him, but I hope most of you already do. I would say that no matter what your chip strategy is, Bruno is probably the biggest kind of must-have player in the game of FPL. If you are going to, you're really, really sure that you just want to have as many double game week players in 33 as possible for a bench boost, maybe you can omit Bruno, but I'm not actually convinced there are enough decent double game week 33 midfielders in particular that are actually any better than Bruno in 33. There is a little bit of a lack of game week 33 midfielders for double game week. So maybe a single game week player is just as good. So that's why Bruno is so high here. Semenyo and Palmer, on the other hand, these are the kind of picks that you're looking for if you are going to be free hitting in 34. I think they're absolutely fine to go for this week because of the underlying data and the form that these players, that how key these players are for having goals and assists for each of their individual teams, the penalties for Palmer as well. I think both of these players, for those of you free hitting in 34, are probably the picks to go for right now. Outside of that, someone like Anderson, still really useful for pretty much anyone right now. Nice and cheap, really good for defensive contributions. Some attacking threat, more than a lot of people kind of realize. But yeah, it's mostly those defensive contributions. Fixtures, well, he's fixture proof anyway. Pascal Gross is a really, really interesting one for those of you guys who are planning a 34 free hit. Really interesting because he's got that Burnley fixture in 32. So actually a lot of the teams who double in game week 33 actually have pretty weak or average fixtures in 32. Brighton are not one of those teams. They have a strong fixture in game week 32. So actually could be an interesting pickup right now. Looks really nailed on for minutes. He's playing 90 minutes near enough every single game for Brighton, which is really, really reassuring. He is a set piece taker, so you're going to get a way to get points through set pieces. He is an okay def corner. Like, he's not an amazing defensive contribution kind of midfielder, but like, he's okay. He will get defensive contribution points from time to time, which is of course useful. I think certainly against Burnley, a team that may give up possession in the midfield a few times, I think Gross is going to have an opportunity to get a few recoveries there. And there is a little bit of open play threat, not a huge amount though, to be fair. But for 5.5 million as a budget enabler with a good fixture now, double game week next week, I don't see too much of an issue going for Gross for certain strategies. Rice, are you going to buy him? Maybe. Even, if you are going to free hit in 33, I don't know if I'd necessarily buy Rice, but if he's fully fit, if you're confident in him, you could do. And Garner, yes, great for defensive contributions, which makes him a little bit more fixture-proof than some of the other Everton players, because you can get defensive contributions in any given game week, but the fixtures they're not ideal, and there are just maybe some higher upside picks around the world of FPL. I mean, it's not like he is like an Anderson level def conner. He is good, don't get me wrong, kind of Rice level def conner, but there are better. And avoid, I guess, Cunha. I don't know if the fixtures for Manchester United are good enough to go for Cunha. It's not like this is a Bruno Fernandes where you have all of these different routes for points. It's not like a Bruno where you need a captain for game week 32 and he fits that kind of profile. Cunha, yes, he's got a good game week 32, but after that, the fixtures aren't that great. You're not going to captain him in 32 regardless. There's no double game weeks for him. What's the point, kind of thing. Harry Wilson, definitely, if you don't have him already, I would not be looking to buy him at this point because the fixtures are just not good enough for him. Similar situations with Gordon. If you're kind of free hitting in 33, then how useful is Gordon away against Crystal Palace and away against Arsenal in 32 and 34? Really not very. So not a particularly useful FPL pickup right now. And then going on to the defenders, Gabriel, if he's available, which we think he is going to be because he's back in training, yeah, buy him, go for him. We really like Gabriel right now. Definitely would be looking at him. Outside of him, Van Hecker, he is the one for those of you who are free hitting in 34. He really is the one. Great fixture against Burnley in 32. Got that double game week in 33. There are some decent enough fixtures where he makes a good rotation defender late on in the season as well. There is some attacking threat there we have seen throughout the season, but mostly we're looking at his defensive contributions. 62 defcons in the past 6 game weeks. That is some of the strongest data we've seen over the past 6 game weeks. Of course, not quite Gabriel, Alderete, Hill levels, but, it's still really, really strong numbers here, which we do like a lot. It's better than Senesi, for example. And the other factor is, and this is not being spoken about enough recently. I mean, look at the non-penalty expected goals allowed column here. Gabriel 5.3, Arsenal, we know they're a very good defence, so only conceded 5.3 expected goals in the past 6 game weeks. Well, Brighton are not far behind here. 5.7 non-penalty expected goals allowed. That's really, really strong. And over the past we go to 10 game weeks, Brighton, second, third best defensive numbers in the Premier League. They are actually genuinely a really strong defence right now. And they're picking up clean sheets as well. So when you've got a nice fixture now, you've got a double game week in 33, you've got a DEFCON defender who is cheap and playing for a reasonably strong defence, like, this is good, guys. This is good. On the other side of the coin, if you're looking to free hit in 33 and you need good fixtures around it, then again, we've got to speak about Sunderland defenders. Alderete looks sensible at 4.1 million. If Ballard's available, great. If Mukiele, you know for 100% that he's going to play, again, great. So these kind of Sunderland defenders going to be very useful for those of you who are on a 33 free hit. Hill is one to monitor. I guess you could go for him now if you're maybe trying to free up some money for a double transfer, something like that. Don't think I'd be looking to play him against Arsenal away, to be honest, but Hill is still a really good FPL asset, really good for defensive contributions. Double game week 33, good fixture in 35 at home against Crystal Palace as well. There is still a lot to like about him. And what's interesting, I know Hill hasn't been scoring the same amount as Senesi and Treffer recently in the Bournemouth defence, but that's because Hill is getting opportunities to score. And because he's been missing the recent opportunities to score, that has damaged his bonus points and therefore made him score a few less points than some of his defensive teammates. But guys, you know, he scores one of these goals, you are looking at an insane Hill score. Hill is a 17-pointer waiting to happen, and you know, maybe even more in a double game week. So I do like the look of Hill a lot still, and I still do prefer him to Senesi and Treffer because of the reasons just stated. But there's no doubt game week 32 is a rubbish fixture for him. Strike, another player who has a rubbish fixture away against Man United this game week. But if you are maybe on a wild card right now, Hill, Strauch, these are the kind of players that I'd be looking at. I'm picking up if you're free hitting 34, bench boosting in 33. These guys are perfect because they're going to have nice fixture 33 and good fixtures from 35 onwards. Leeds in particular have really nice fixtures from game week 35 onwards. So actually, Strauch is actually perfectly playable in a lot of games. I don't know if he's 100% nailed because he did miss a game recently, but it seems throughout the season he has been. Leeds fans, let me know. He's pretty much nailed on, right? And he's had really good defensive contribution data throughout the majority of the season. In the past 5 game weeks, yeah, only 35 defensive contributions over 5 game weeks, which is, or 5 games, should I say, which is not perfect, but season-long data has looked much better for him, and maybe we look at a kind of a slightly longer perspective on him in that regard. A little bit of an attacking threat as well. Compared to the other Leeds defenders, he seems to have a decent amount of attacking threat there. Lacroix is a really interesting one if you're looking to target a defender who maybe has a double game week in 36. Hasn't been able to play too many games recently due to his recent red card, but really good defensive contribution data throughout the season. Some attacking threat there as well. He's obviously scored a goal recently. Game week 34 is not ideal for him if that's kind of your play, but I think for certain strategies, certain scenarios, he could genuinely be okay if you want to plan way ahead in the future to game week 36 where we're expecting Crystal Palace to double. So interesting one. O'Reilly also an interesting one here as well in terms of looking for defenders who are maybe a little bit more expensive. So whereas Hill and Strike are kind of nice defenders to kind of bench and free up cash by buying these defenders now, O'Reilly, you know, if you're on a wild card, you're probably going to get him. If you're not on a wild card, it depends what your strategy is really. Is this the week to get him? But he's a defender who is playing in attacking midfield. So he's getting more opportunities to score goals than anyone else. And against Chelsea, maybe you actually fancy him in the attack in this game week. I don't know. I'll leave that with you guys. But yeah, he's got to be considered for those of you guys free hitting in 34. He simply has to be considered. Outside of that, Kukurea is got to be an avoid. Bad fixture in game week 32. No defensive contributions, so he hasn't got goals to fall back on like O'Reilly. He's not got defensive contributions to fall back on like Hill and Strike. Like, what are you going to get from him? Probably not very much. So regardless of what your strategy is, a 6, remember, he's more expensive than any of those guys as well. Just not seeing the vision on this one at all. Virgil, if you don't already have him, probably would not be looking to pick him up right now. I think there are some better defensive options for you to buy if you are looking for someone new. And Tarkowski, yeah, there's loads of better options. I mean, Tarkowski, his kind of fallen off a cliff when it comes to defensive contributions. I don't think his attacking returns are reliable, and the fixtures just are not there at all for Everton. And as such, he's going to go in the avoid section for me. I've not even mentioned the price, 5.7 million. So expensive for what you're getting. And let's wrap up with the goalkeepers. Certainly would be looking to keep Ruffs if he is going to be available. He was targeting a Game Week 32 return. He was close, apparently, to returning in Game Week 31, which was 3 weeks ago. So presumably, he is going to be given the all clear ahead of this game week. And if he is, certainly for those of you guys who are free hitting in 33, really, really strong goalkeeper. And if you have him already, fantastic. On the other hand, if you are not on a wild card right now and you're looking to free hit in 34 and you need double game week players for 33, Dubravka works just fine. Okay fixtures around him. There's maybe some playable fixtures around him, but really you'll be looking to maybe try and get a clean sheet against Forest in 33 and pick up some save points against Man City as well. By the way, Forest shoot a lot from range as well. So genuinely, there is going to be save points on offer in Game Week 33, even though clean sheets are always going to be difficult to get. Let's say that when you are Burnley. Looking to sell some goalkeepers. Vicario had a hernia operation. Doesn't look like he's going to return for Game Week 32, but even if he was, why would you want a Spurs goalkeeper anyway? And Alisson, unfortunately, has picked up a new injury, and he's going to be out until very, very late in the season. We're looking at probably end of April, May before we see Alisson Becker return. So therefore, it's got to be a sell. If you're looking to buy new, if you're looking for a goalkeeper who is good for 33, 34, 35, then Raya, good long-term keep if you're free hitting in 33. For Bruggen, if you need a goalkeeper with a good fixture now and a good fixture in double game week in 33 and are free hitting in 34, the Bruggen works really, really well. I also like Darlow for this purpose, but Darlow does have the weaker game week 32 fixture. If you've got your eye on Pickford, take your eyes off Pickford, I think, and Henderson. No DEFCONs, so you're not even going to get that in his weaker fixtures in 32 and 34, even if you are kind of looking for some Crystal Palace coverage. I think there's enough goalkeepers, no matter what your strategy, there is going to be better goalkeepers to go for than Henderson right now. And those are the players we have spoken about today. I'm so sorry this was a slightly longer buy, sell, keep, avoid episode. The problem is different strategies are just going to mean very different kind of players you're looking at, so we kind of have to caveat so much in a video like this. It's certainly not been the easiest buy, sell, keep, avoid video to make this season, but from next week I think things will be really a lot easier. So therefore, guys, I do appreciate you having a bit of patience with me in today's video. I really, really do appreciate it. And of course, if there's any players I missed out today, and I'm sure because there's more strategies, there's inevitably going to be more different FPL options, and I can't fit them all in one video. Let me know if I missed anyone. Let me know in the comments. I'll give them a rating. Buy, sell, keep, avoid. If you are also, I'll try and clarify chip strategy when asking about players as well. Say I'm free hitting in 33. Should I buy Pascal Gross, for example? And I will probably say yes. So just an example. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Drop a like, do subscribe. Make sure you do check out the absolutely incredible effort that went into the chip strategy video. This is a serious video. Like, this is going to help you so much if you're still not 100% sure on your chip strategy. Check that one out, guys. You will not regret it. And until next time, guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.